When we think of Rome's decline, the same images always come to mind for most of us. Barbarians sacking the city, legions scattering and fleeing, and emperors poisoned in palaces. But empires don't just collapse from the outside. The real collapse begins from within. And one of the most powerful causes of internal collapse is money. Rome didn't collapse simply because of invasions or bad rulers. It collapsed because its currency lost its value. This is a lesson that still holds true today. When money deteriorates, order deteriorates. So let's go back to the beginning. For centuries, the heart of the Roman economy was the silver denarius. When it began to be minted around 211 BC, it was nearly pure silver. Soldiers received their salaries with it, merchants wanted it, and people kept their savings with it. The denarius wasn't just money, it was trust itself. As Rome became stronger, so did its currency. As people trusted Rome, they also trusted the denarius. But ruling an empire wasn't cheap. Armies had to be fed, roads had to be built, and wars had to be financed. By the 2nd century, Rome's borders had expanded so much that expenses had already outstripped revenues. Because the idea of further tax increases would have angered the public, the emperors chose a different approach: debase the currency. In other words, they reduced the silver content and began minting coins that looked the same but were worth less. The numbers speak for themselves. During the reign of Augustus, the denarius contained 95% silver. During the reign of Caracalla, this percentage dropped to 50%. By the reign of Gallienus, it was even less than 5%. The coin, once pure silver, had become a nearly worthless bronze disc. When the people saw this, they lost confidence in the emperor. Naturally, prices skyrocketed as the currency depreciated. A measure of wheat, once bought for 1 denarius, now demanded tens of denarii. Soldiers demanded more money, merchants began to reject the devalued currency, and in some regions, people even stopped using it and resorted to barter entirely. The more money the state printed, the faster it lost value. The economic situation entered a vicious cycle. This process reached its peak in the period known as the crisis of the 3rd century. Between 235 and 284, Rome descended into utter chaos. Invasions, epidemics, civil wars, a collapsing economy. Emperors changed frequently. Behind all this political turmoil lay a collapsed financial and economic system. With devalued money, taxes could not be collected, farmers stopped planting and fled, and trade chains were disrupted. Diocletian worked hard to rectify the situation. In 301, he issued the Maximum Price Edict, which fixed the prices of over 1,000 products by the state itself. Those who disobeyed were even punished with death. But while the currency was worthless, no one adhered to the posted prices. The black market boomed and official trade collapsed, because the law didn't regulate the currency. And if the currency was worthless, the economy remained in disarray. Finally, Rome abandoned the denarius entirely. Around 312, Constantine introduced the gold solidus, and this remained the sole currency in the Eastern Roman Empire for centuries. But the West was already exhausted. The denarius's collapse had eroded Rome's foundations, if not externally. An empire that couldn't feed its army, couldn't sustain trade, and lost its confidence couldn't last long. The collapse of Rome wasn't a single event. It was actually a long process of disintegration. And money, of course, was at the center of this disintegration. So what does this tell us? Simple. Those who ruin money ruin themselves. Rome thought they could fool the people with money that looked the same but was more devalued. Today, many modern states play the same game, printing money, rigging interest, and absorbing debt with inflation. The result? Always the same. The public loses, savings erode, confidence collapses. This wasn't just a Roman phenomenon. Every major inflation throughout history has told the same story. Weimar Germany. They tried to pay off the debt by printing money. In 1923, bread cost 200 billion marks. People were carrying their wages in sacks. Zimbabwe. In 2008, inflation reached a sextillion. The currency collapsed completely, and they started using dollars. But this isn't just about extreme cases. Even modern economies experience the same crises. For example, the U.S. severed its link to gold in 1971. After that, the dollar became a fiat currency based entirely on trust. And just like Rome, printing money became much easier. Debt grew, the money supply expanded, and inflation constantly crept in through the back door. The purchasing power of $1 in 1971 is equivalent to more than $6 today. The currency itself looks the same, but its interior is emptied. Today, the situation is even riskier because the entire world now uses fiat currency. This time, the collapse will affect not just one country, but the entire planet. And history has always shown us the same thing. When a collapse occurs, the wealthy will be protected. The poor millions who live on salaries will lose. What are the individual lessons to be learned from this story? 1. Inflation is not a mistake. It is a policy. It is a silent tax. 2. True wealth is not in paper. It is based on land, skill, production, and permanent assets. 3. No economic order is permanent. The Roman people once believed their currency would collapse. The Germans thought the same way in 1913. So did the Zimbabweans. But the outcome was the same for all of them. The Roman currency crisis shows us one thing clearly. When trust is lost, the system collapses, first gradually, then suddenly. When money loses its reality and value, society disintegrates. Contracts, trade, the army, the state, everything hinges on the value of money. The barbarians at your door may deliver the final blow. But the real death blow begins in the treasury. And here's the bottom line. History may not repeat itself, but if you don't understand it, its repetition will crush you.